That said, the Apple Cup, like the Iron Bowl, does its own weird things. Number 4 Washington defeated Washington State 24-21, just moments before we started the show, honestly. Made a game-winning field goal, walk-off fashion in what was a back-and-forth game. I was astounded to see how Washington State's defense was holding up against Washington. I knew that Cam Ward in that offense, if they got it on and popping, got off to a good rhythm, would have something to show, and they certainly did. Cam Ward went 32 of 48 for 317 yards through the air, 3 TDs, and 2 interceptions. But, man, what did you need to see from Washington except grit and grind? There was a great 4th down play call where Kalen DeBoer actually threw a hat tip to his quarterback. Now, they ran a really fun play that ends up being a reverse to your best player in Rome Odunze to get that 1st down. But Kalen DeBoer said the postgame to Allison Williams, hey, there are a couple things that Mike could do off of that. And he decided to go with a little gadgetry and get the ball into the hands of a guy that might actually end up winning the Biletnikoff Award in one Rome Odunze. He had 7 catches for 120 yards and 2 TDs in what was a tight game. It was 21-21 for far too long if you're a Washington fan. Washington ends up getting to 12-0 for only the 2nd time. Last time they got to 12-0, they won a national championship. So we got 2 teams already heading into the conference championship weekend in Washington and Michigan who are on a trajectory to win the national championship like they had been in years past. We're harkening back to the 20th century. We're harkening back to the early 90s if you're Washington, the late 90s if you're Michigan. I don't know if this Washington team that we saw against Washington State is good enough to beat the Oregon team we've seen in the last 4 weeks, but they certainly continue to make themselves heard. And by being 12-0, you keep yourself in the conversation to be a college football playoff team because all you got to do is win, baby. That's all you have to do. You go to the Pac-12 championship, you win in Vegas, and you let them sort you out as to where you're going to be ranked. Getting back to the college football playoff would be tremendous for Washington, as the last time they were there, Jake Browning was playing quarterback, and he's just got done saying, I felt like I spent an eternity on the practice squad before getting a start with the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL. And now you're talking about Michael Penix Jr., who's come back from ACL tears to go to Washington to help build that program back with Kalen DeBoer. He has created this great kinship with Rome Odunze where both of those guys can end up winning a whole bunch of postseason awards. You've seen a run game develop out of nowhere, honestly, in Dylan Johnson. If you're a Washington fan, this is great. Yes, you had a heart attack in the Apple Cup, but when don't you have a heart attack in the Apple Cup? And let's not forget, you lost that game last year. This is a game that Washington State shows up expecting to win, even as a 4-win team in 2023. I'm also really proud of the Cougs and how they've shown some fight, not just this season, but with all going on around them. What conference you're going to play in? Are you going to be in a conference next year? Still showing up to play great football. And Cam Ward, I think, unsung hero down there in the Palouse. Really great win for Washington, though, in Seattle. They play what I think is the toughest schedule of anybody inside of that top 5, that top 6. They keep running in the teams that got numbers next to their names, but it didn't turn out that that's the thing. It's just who are they going to play that week, because they are going to be in a dogfight, and they have been each and every week, basically since they got their really huge win against Oregon and Seattle. Can you double them up? Can you beat Oregon a second time in the Pac-12 championship game on Friday night? Because that game is going to have so much to say about how we view who gets into the college football playoff and just where they are seated. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.